How y'all doing? I'm the Watchman, and this is part four. Part four of Which Animal Are You? My sheep hear my voice. My sheep hear my voice. And we left off in part three. Where we left off at was how the devil, can use women, to do his hunting for him in church, sometimes using dress code. Dress code. Some know and some don't know. Some know and some don't know. And I'd like to throw a little bit of tidbit, but the problems of lust in our society. Lust is everywhere. Everything in our society is bent on sexual immorality and lust and things of that nature. Is everywhere, and it's just a little tidbit, a little food for knowledge. Is that over here in Western civilization, America, Europe, so on, our TV, our regular cable TV, Africa and the other Eastern civilization considers our regular cable pornography. They consider our regular cable to be pornography. But we've been so accustomed to it that we don't see how vile and foul it really is. Grown adults running around in their underwear on commercials. We just call them Hanes commercials, but really it's grown adults running around in their underwear on commercials. But anyway, let's get right back into it. Let's get right back into it. So, you know, when you look at the traits of a lamb or sheep, not one thing is done for their personal gain. Now, this is real deep, y'all. Not one thing is done for personal gain. There is no self. Maybe God wants us to be sheep because they are totally dependent upon a shepherd for everything. For everything. Doing for self or just looking out for self is not in their nature. It's not in their nature. Now, wolves are very similar to lions in almost every aspect of the animal kingdom, and the devil himself is described as a lion, but some of his children God describes as wolves, and a lot of them are found in the church also. Let's go to Matthew 10 first. Matthew 10, and we're going to read verse 16. Matthew 10, verse 16. He says, "Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents, and harmless as doves." That's Matthew 10, verse 16. But I like this one though. I really like this one. Let's go to Matthew 7. We're going to go to Matthew 7 and we're going to start at verse 15. Matthew 7 and we're going to start at verse 15. It says, the word says, "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes or thorns, or figs or thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down, and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. Not every one that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven." We're going to get more to that about he who does the will of the Father. "Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works?" They're Christians, aren't they? They're doing all of these things in Christ's name. These are obviously Christians. "And then will I profess," verse 23, "and then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity." Ye that work iniquity. And another meaning of iniquity is lawlessness. Lawlessness. Ye that works lawlessness. All right. Now look, the reason why Jesus says, "I never knew you," is because he only recognizes the nature of the type of animal that he is. Sheep. as being family. He only recognizes family. Remember, Christ was the lamb, the spotless lamb with no blemish. Christ only recognizes family. And that's why he tells them, I never knew you, because they are of a different nature. They are a different animal. They are of a different animal. And this is also proven where it says, and only his family will he permit to enter into heaven. Let's go to Matthew 25. Matthew 25. And we're going to start at verse 31. We're going to read verse 31. And the word says, when the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from goats. As a shepherd divideth his sheep from goats. So only God's sheep, only the sheep are permitted into heaven. Only his family are permitted into heaven. Now, as we seen in Matthew 7, and I believe it's Matthew 7, but it's verse 22. No, verse 21, where he says, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. He that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Now we see that only his sheep are permitted in heaven. So it must be his sheep who are doing his will. Let's look at it. Now, as we've dealt with the lion, wolf, or sheep in the church, Christ shows us the difference between being a sheep in the world and church and being a lion or wolf in the world and church. And the difference is one does the will of God and the other doesn't do the will of God. But Christ, I love God so much, he actually goes into detail on what doing his will is. And what doing his will is. Now, we just read in Matthew 25, verse 31, 32, we saw in 32 where it says, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And the sheep are the only ones allowed into heaven. Well, we're about to read, we're going to read 33. Let's start at 33. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on his left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, come ye, blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was a hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. And I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee a hungered, and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger, and took thee in, or naked, and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick, or in prison, and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these brethren, ye have done it unto me. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was a hungered, and ye gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me not in. Naked, and ye clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and ye visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee a hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer them, saying, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did it not to one of the least of these, ye did it not to me. You did it not to me. Wow. Wow. Now look. Go back to the character traits of the sheep. Now, character trait number 19 says sheep need the most care of all livestock. And number 21 says they are totally dependent on a shepherd for every need. So what this is telling me, with also these verses from Matthew 25, is that the same care, what this is telling me is that the same care that God has bestowed upon us, in the same way we can depend on him to take care of all our needs, is the same way we are to tend to minister and take care of the needs of others. It's the same way we are to tend to, minister, and take care of the needs of others. Almost every need of a human is mentioned in verses 35 through 40. Almost every need of a human. Look at it. For I was a hungered, you gave me meat. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger, you took me in. I was naked, you clothed me. I was sick and in prison, you visited me. Christ went through almost every personal need of a human. So basically, what he's saying is that the people, his sheep, are those that do for others, who strive to take care of all the needs of everyone around them, And the goats and the lions are those who only think about self. And this is so dangerous and deadly because our society is built on self. What's the mottos? You got to think about certain principles that are so selfish, but little sayings like, you got to look out for number one. You got to make sure you take care of yourself first. Is that the nature or characteristic trait of a lion or a sheep? For God said, my sheep are those who take care and minister to all the needs of others. Only lion and goats tend to think about themselves only. Because think about how many Christians and people in that bottom part who didn't feed somebody because they didn't have that much food, and it was like, nah, I gotta look out for myself. I ain't got that much food. How am I get you food when I ain't got that much for myself? Think of how many people actually don't do for others because they're too busy only thinking about themselves. Let's go to John 10. Let's see the video. The time limit is coming to a close. I need more time. John 10, and it's going to stop on me, but read John 10 verses 1 through 30. 1 through 30. I'm going to start at 1. It says, verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice. And he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. Wow, knows by name. And when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them. So he's with us. And the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers. This parable spake Jesus unto them, but they understood not what things which he spake unto them. Then said Jesus unto them, verse 7. He had to stress it. He really wanted them to get it. Verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out, and find pasture. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy. The thief is obviously a lion, wolf, or goat. I am come that they might have life, that they might have it, and that they might have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. But he that is a hireling, and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep, and fleeth, and the wolf catcheth them, and scattereth the sheep. The hireling fleeth, because he is a hireling, and careth not for the sheep, meaning they have no love in them towards them at all. Anyway, nobody will ever love us like Jesus will. Basically, I am the verse 14. I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. I love that verse because he's saying right there that, there are others in other denominations who, once they hear the word, once they hear God's voice, which is the Bible, thus saith the Lord, once they hear it, they will come. That's just, I live by thus saith the Lord. If God says it, I do it. If it's not in the Bible, I don't do it. If it's my personal opinion, I don't do it. But if thus saith the Lord, I do it. I stress to you, I'll read the rest. John 10, 1 through 30. My sheep hear my voice.